So this happened, man, I don't know. This might probably over a month ago. I'm just gonna read exactly what I wrote down because I wrote cranberry pudding atop of it, and then I've got to consult you about something. So let's consult away. Hold on, how do I get into the middle of this?
I'm a consultant.
That's right. I'm gonna consult you. Okay. There is a passage in the Brothers Karamazov in which Ivan, one of the brothers, describes his rejection of Christianity, religion in general, and the entirety of mankind. For those who are curious, it's in Book 5, Chapter 4. He decries the horrors committed by man upon innocents, mostly children, and rejects any creator who would include this fact as part of their universe, regardless of whether or not it was part of some grand scheme aimed at a greater good. My question that I write here for you, for us, is such a greater good possible? Is it justifiable?
This is fantastic because I just took a semester studying utopias. So,
I thought of you and wrote it down.
Well, no, I don't think it is. And think of anything you've ever seen, you can always find a way to make it better. I think that when you're creating something, if we're speaking about a creator, so from my philosophical perspective, there's what is called the philosophical God. The philosophical God is not one of your gods. It's God, right?
Yeah.
It is to be referred to when you're referring to an unknown creator. It can mean Allah. It can mean Buddha. It could mean, well, probably not Buddha, because I don't think Buddha is a creator, but it can mean God. It can mean whoever you want to be, or whatever you want to be a creator of this universe, or what we know today.
Insert preferred creator here, basically.
And then you've got philosophical God. So what I'll say is that the way I understand God, and the way I think a lot of people understand God, whether they're willing to admit it or not, great topic 5 minutes in, by the way.
Just
God.
Straight in the deep end. By the way, we were drawing dicks on t-shirts about half an hour ago.
Yeah, that's true. Please don't delete that off of your Twitch vids.
Never.
Or VODs. The way that I understand God, and I think the way a lot of us understand God, again, like I'll say, whether you admit it or not, or whether you understand it or not, is a God that we understand from our perspective and our afforded wisdom. And afforded wisdom is a key point there, right? We know the culmination of humanity, or at least a curated portion of it.
Yeah, through what has been recorded and what we have access to.
Yes, that's considering the quotes. History is written by the victors. That's affording all of that. We know a curated volume of humanity, and we're gonna project that onto God. The biggest lie, in my opinion, in religion is that we are projections of God. It is, if we understand it the other way around, that God is a projection of us and what we can possibly know. Well, then we have a much deeper understanding, I think, and a probably a better relationship to this philosophical God. So,
I actually definitely believe more or I can at least imagine more the we project rather than we are projections.
Of course,
because
and I think
meaning comes from us. At least the meaning we have comes from us. And why wouldn't we project if we're creating something in our mind and we are creators? Why wouldn't we project a grand creator as being something like us or having some kind of resemblance to us at like a higher power, perhaps?
It's my opinion that it's easier to be a follower than it is to be a leader. And so I think it's a lot of people, and listen, I mean this, there is nothing wrong with being a follower. No. Life is fucking tough. And sometimes it's better to just get paid and fuck bitches.
Leaders get punished too. Leaders get punished.
Exactly. And I'm not saying it makes anybody. Yeah, exactly. And no one is worse than the other.
No.
I don't claim to know. I claim to be a philosopher, which I am by trade, by education. So, what was the original question again?
So in the Brothers Karamazov, the character
Right.
Ivan, who is kind of in the of the three brothers, one is a monk, one is kind of a soldier, and one is the academic, the intellect. And this is Ivan, who are speaking about, the academic. And he sort of rejects, he claims that humans need a god, but he respects that humans need a god, but he rejects any god that would create a world in which children are harmed, because he can't envision a greater good of any kind in which that is a justifiable thing that you would create if there is such a thing as a creator of everything.
So then you'd have to view a god as being omnipotent, and that is something that we may do, in my philosophical opinion, because it helps to something that I'm hung up about is humanity's obsession for finality, an end to things, right? And we are obsessed with this. We need to put a period on things, or else we feel unsure.
I feel that too myself sometimes.
Yeah, and I do too. I think it's not that I'm above that. Don't get me wrong. I've noticed it though. I don't believe there is an omnipotent God. And that's not to say that it's out of the question that there could be a force smarter than I, a force wiser than I. In saying that, I'm recognizing the potential finality of my own wisdom and intelligence. It'd be foolish of me to assume that I am the highest possible form of living.
Yeah.
That's pretty silly.
Yep.
But I'd be hard pressed to admit that I believe that there is a being or an intelligence or a consciousness that is omnipotent. And it is only an omnipotent being that could predict everything that a person could do under a certain set of rules.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Well, I guess the current at the time of this book, I guess the Russian Christianity would have probably held God as some omnipotent being, and so I guess that is probably what he refers to. That he probably imagines that it's this all-seeing, all-knowing, kind of all-powerful thing.
And when was it written?
At a guess, I'm gonna get it wrong, but at a guess, I would say like 1870. Let me just pull this up. I think it's late 19th century, I believe, or past the mid of the 19th century.
Well, I think it's important to understand that if it comes from around sort of that time, we're talking about industrialization.
1880.
We're talking 1880. Perfect. So we're talking about the Industrial Revolution. We're talking about ideas when Marx started to have ideas about, Marx famously said, religion is the opiate of the masses. This is also Russian literature, right? And there was a lot of anti-God stuff in order for people to buy into themselves and the community, and social or communism, not socialism, communism.
There was a legit revolution. It was a legit revolution there.
Yeah. And to be fair, what they got right. What Lenin and Stalin and Karl Marx and these early rejectors of God and communism, going away from the Brothers Karamazov for just a second, was that corporations and things like religions will be leaders. They are trying to be God. And so it's a very popular Russian belief to an early Russian belief to say, question these things, because these things are trying to control you and trying to own power.
Let me add a little bit to that from the brothers. So within this is sort of the gist that I gave you, but at this point he's trying to explain to his brother what he believes, basically, and because they don't really understand each other. And he shares this story. I think he claims it's a poem, but it reads like a story in which whoever God is, his fictional imagined God, I guess, comes to Earth in a physical form during the Spanish Inquisition. And an inquisitor finds him and says, that one, take that one. And he has this scene he writes this scene between an inquisitor and God, in which the inquisitor realizes that this is God and says, I know who you are. This world has no place for you anymore. It's for me. You gave the people freedom. They don't want freedom. I give them the sort of the bliss of being controlled. And this is me just paraphrasing, but I just thought that'd be an interesting addition.
It is, and it has a lot of presence in Eastern propaganda around those times. I mean propaganda in a very sort of literal term. I don't mean, please don't anybody listening associate propaganda with the Nazis, because it's not that kind of propaganda.
No, propaganda is just it's a form of promotion.
Yeah, it's literature to promote an idea. It doesn't even have to be literature, but anyway, it was part of the propaganda. And I think they have a point. But, history was written. Look what happened.